Good evening. I will call this Tigard City Council and Town Center Development Agency meeting to order. Deputy City Recorder Raimundo, please call roll.
Mayor Lube.
Here.
Youth Councilor Vogel.
Here.
Councilor Shaw.
Here.
Councilor Wolf.
Here.
And Council President Hu.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. If everyone will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. City Council or teammates, are there any non-agenda items this evening?
Nothing from us, Mayor. Just to point out, there is a supplemental packet item for you on the water rates. Thanks. Or not water rates, the solid waste rates. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to public comment. Please call in now to get in the queue. The phone number is 503-966-4101. And we will start off with a follow-up to previous public comment with Assistant City Manager Tritch.
Good evening, Council. Emily Tritch, Assistant City Manager. I wanted to share that we received one comment in writing last session about the Tigard Music Festival, and that constituent received a response. Thank you.
Thank you. We did not receive any written comments by noon yesterday. Is there anyone signed up in person?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Thornburg, are there any phone callers in the queue or anyone wishing to comment by video today?
None at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. We will move on to proclamations and recognition. We are proclaiming June 19th as Juneteenth in Tigard. Thank you to everybody who came out this past weekend to help celebrate our Juneteenth event in partnership with the Tigard-Tualatin School District. It was a pretty awesome event, and the rain cleared just in time. So you can find the proclamation available out in the hallway or online in the packet for this meeting. And we will go to City Manager Reimer for his report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, councilors, members of the community, and my teammates that are here. I want to start by congratulating the most recent Leadership Tigard class. Many of us were just at the graduation. Kudos to everyone from our community that was involved with it. Kudos to our teammates. One just walked in the door right now, Kalina, as well as Courtney, Travis, and Lynette from the city. Thanks to all of you and many others for the support. I know some of you have gone through it. The gentleman to my right has gone. Nicole has gone. Many others in our organization have gone through that great program as well. So just kudos to everyone in the community, for all of our partners for their efforts as well. On the same note, I want to say, send a note of appreciation to our community, especially those that were impacted by our boil requirement yesterday. As many of you know, yesterday on Monday, we issued a boil water advisory for just over 1,700 customers in the Canterbury Hill pressure zone. That was issued after we had a loss of pressure in one of our zones. I'm happy to report that our test results obtained this morning showed no signs of contamination, and we lifted that advisory. These are things that happen once in a while, as you know. The last time I heard was 13 years, so our team takes this very seriously. And it takes many steps, and so just kudos to our team for reacting to it and communicating out to our community, and glad that the end result is there are no issues moving forward. Last, just a quick couple things from our library. Thanks to our library director, Halstead, for being here as well. Our youth service teammates visited the TTSD kindergarten classes this year to distribute the golden tickets, and so that could be returned to the library for a free book, and we have received 131 kindergartners have visited back to the library to receive those books. So that's great with their grown-ups. Also, our library team visited Family Promise Bridge to Home, which we know is a great community partner of ours, to share library information and sign up guests for summer reading. And it sounds like we had 4 adults and 7 kids signed up this month, and we will return in July and August for more about the summer book reading program. So thanks again to our library for being such an integral part of our community in the library and in the community. And that concludes my remarks.
Are there any questions? I have a question. So I know an alert went out through our Code Red system. When we move our billing over to Total Tyler, will there be a better way to directly communicate with individuals? Will that improve the process?
I'll have to follow up. I see Nicole's here. Nicole, do you have off the top of your head? Yeah, so we'll
Okay.
follow up on that, Mayor. I'll let
Yeah,
you
I was
know.
just curious
Tyler,
because I know if
communication.
people
Yep.
weren't signed up, I think there was some frustration. So perhaps a new, better billing system would allow us to reach out to people more directly.
Yep. We will look into that and let the council know.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We did have someone call in. So Mr. Thornburg, can you go ahead and let them in? And put up the timer for 2 minutes, please.
Hello, my name is Daniel Thompson. I live in Tigard, and I just wanted to address some things that were brought up at the last council meeting. One of them was, the rental registration concept was brought up. I would like to address some of the misconceptions regarding that. There was a statement made that there are tenants living in substandard buildings. This statement is completely untrue and really shows a lack of understanding of the industry and the rental business. All complexes that have even one tenant that gets Section 8 housing have to go through a thorough inspection and evaluation. This is not just the tenant's unit, but the entire complex gets reviewed for habitability and safety. And they also periodically re-inspect to make sure safety and habitability standards are met. This already accomplishes what the perceived benefit of the rental registration program was entailed. This program would just be an added burden on city resources, duplicating processes that are already in place. This would unduly burden rental properties with unnecessary costs, which would raise rental prices in a time where people are struggling with rent as it is. I think the whole idea of the rental registration program is poorly thought out, and it duplicates existing services. It should not be considered, and that's just my thoughts on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. We will move on to council liaison reports. Would anyone like to? Youth Councilor Vogel, thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, I'll start. So just giving a little report on TIAC. So we've been doing really well. We welcomed 2 new official members, which came upon council. We have been prepping for the summer. It's usually a slower season for summer, but this year we will be taking a break just due to some unforeseen circumstances. We're going to start up again on September 16th, so we're just going to give our members the summer break to enjoy and hoping to see them back in the fall. We do plan to continue our summer events, so we're going to be attending movies in the park, doing things, booths such as coloring pages and crafts that are applicable to the movie that kids can do to stay entertained. And we will be doing our best to recruit new members, and then our president will be sending out officer information as the fall comes along so that people can get involved if they would like to.
Thank you. Councilor Shaw. We'll just move right along this way.
Thank you, Mayor. With the WAB, we reviewed the water operations budget as well as had a water supply update, and the good news is we're slightly up from where we were last year, and that a little extra rain has hopefully negate us going into a drought, so that should be good news. We also discussed the utility billing and update on Total Tyler, as well as a utility billing communication update, so should be right on target there. And then just mentioning with the boil alert, I was on Code Red, so that system did work. So if anyone has similar situations or wants to know what's happening in the city, Code Red is an easy thing to sign up for and to get updates. And in the interim, until we get another mode of communications. And then with transportation, with the TTAC, we received an ODOT project update. We received our capital improvement plan update, S20, which is our speed limit. We'd like most of our Tigard streets to be at. Update, as well as where we're going to be going for our August field visit. And then within our PRAB, the Parks and Rec, we had an events and recreational update. Lots of events this summer, including this weekend's very exciting Balloon Festival, so please come out for that. In addition, we had an update on the Tiger Trails System Plan, and we got the funding for upgrading the dock at Cook Park, so very excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Hu?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Regional Water Provider Consortium June board meeting, which was former Councilor Singh's board, and we received briefing from American Water Works Association. They talk about cybersecurity, and it's interesting that EPA is using Clean Water Act to enforce cybersecurity measures. But it is an important aspect of water treatment plant and stuff. So, but a lot of work still needs to be done. So that's interesting. And they also talk about PFAS and compliance monitoring under federal regulations need to be started within 3 years. And knock on wood, the last report that the city of Tigard is doing pretty good. But just caution that more and more compounds could be added to the list. So we are not completely out of the woods yet. So we need more federal lobbying and regulation to make sure that the city is not held accountable for something that we have no part of. And also attended the Willamette River Water Coalition board meeting. They provide lots of construction updates. So when you go Roy Rogers and Sherwood, water is coming from the Willamette River, and we are not using it, and we have no plan to use it yet, but that's something that we have the right to, if we needed to. And stream flow near and around the Willamette Basin are well above average, so that's good. And the coalition starting communication plan to connect with customers about upcoming use of Willamette water because it's coming online pretty soon. And their research found out that the more the customer are educated about Willamette River, the more likely that they are willing to accept that it is coming. So let's see. I also attended Town Center Advisory Commission meeting. They received a presentation on system development charges in downtown Tigard. And they also consider an application from Just Compassion because the new facility they're building on Hall, the expected total cost is $15.75 million, and they are short. So they are, Just Compassion is requesting the city to put in $600,000. And the staff at that time recommended $200,000 because that's all we have pretty much in the TIF funding. Commissioners were generally supportive, but they are concerned that Just Compassion, hasn't tried to apply funding from other sources yet. So, so it was tabled, and they wanted Just Compassion to try to go after other funding sources first before they will consider that. Then that will be about another 6 months, I would think. And they also receive parking enforcement update. The city is in the process of selecting a service provider for parking enforcement in downtown and in Tigard Triangle. And the projected starting date for enforcement is September. And initially, it will be mostly educational. So people shouldn't be getting ticket right away. And finally, another former Councilor Singh's Assignments Planning Commission, which happened yesterday, but unfortunately, I forgot and I didn't get a calendar invite. But but I have their agenda here. So they received 2 briefings. One is the River Terrace kickoff, which we did that at the council meeting last week. Another one is electric mobility project, EGO, and I just get a cheat note from Assistant City Manager Trish that the council will receive that briefing in September. So we didn't miss anything. So thank you.
Councilor Wolf.
Yeah, I will add to Councilor Shaw's list. We had a TIF grant program meeting for 2 businesses in the downtown town center TIF region. Very excited, and I think Danelle has shared this with us at an earlier council meeting that going into the new fiscal year, their requests are already lined up, and they're very excited about the momentum building on grant proposals and obviously the work that goes with that and the businesses. The Metro Area Communications Commission, we met. It's only a quarter quarterly group meeting and just the highlights past the annual budget. And of course, franchise fees from cable companies continues to decline. This upcoming 25 fiscal year budget is revenues are expected to be reduced by $900,000, just south of $1 million. So expenditures adjusted accordingly. They're in the process of doing Comcast needs assessment. Kent did a great job of promoting that. I think it was supposed to, the survey out to all residents is still up if anyone is interested. I did take it myself. To walk through it. It's a little bit long, but thorough. So I do, if you're interested in it, I do encourage you to take the survey. And so the assessment results and analysis comes later in the summer. And then finally, the Policy Advisory Board for the Community Development Block Grants met last week. And again, it's that season of finalizing proposals for the next fiscal year. And what I found really interesting is Community Connect and Family Promise presented, Community Connect presented what is the process of working with those unhoused and how they are identified and whether they qualify for services. And then Family Promise wasn't as much about Bridge to Home, but their role in emergency services with the additional funds they have to support and assistance. So that's my report. So thank you.
Thank you. Region 1 Act, a couple of weeks ago, it was a robust conversation about a proposal in front of the OTC, which the Oregon Transportation Commission, which has since, I think, last week gone forward. But really due to the explosion of costs on the Abernathy Bridge, and I think the Rose Quarter project and, the requirements of the last transportation package funding some of these. There is a conversation over how the gaps are funded. And so I think they are continuing to look at not painting one of the bridges. I can't remember which one it is, but it's $100 million. So I think the gap's like $550 million. So they're not going to paint one of the Portland bridges, and looking at providing bonding, which then will be paid for with future STIP money from around the entire state. And there's a robust conversation over the appropriateness of that, understanding that they're between a rock and a hard place, and needing to fill the gap that, quite frankly, tolling also created. So that conversation has been robust and was even brought up at the Washington County Coordinating Committee yesterday. Also at WCCC and meeting with, I think, Chair Harrington separately, really talking about the WCCLS library consultant and the project of really reviewing what service level means at the cooperative for each and every different library, and understanding that each library is a combination of Washington County library funds, WCCLS levy funds, and city general funds. And what are the appropriate levels, also understanding that they will have to go out for a replacement levy. I think in next year or the year after, I'm looking at Hallstatt, the year after, so 2026, is that what? 2025, okay. So, and what that may look like as far as service level, and the mayors, I think, are also looking for transparency on understanding, knowing that the Washington County has budget shortages and has been dipping or reducing funds dedicated to MSTEP and the library, understanding if some of the intent is also potentially to increase the levy and reduce the county's general funds, and really wanting to be transparent with the community if that's going to be their intent. And the mayor is really also pushing for understanding long-term stability. As we're creating our budgets and not knowing what they're going to do with their budget, it puts cities in a really hard position not to have consistency or know ahead and have an agreement on what that general fund funding level is going to look like. So that continues to be a robust conversation. It looks like City Manager Reimer wants, and we are engaged in the conversation, so don't think that we are not. Yeah, City Manager Reimer, do you want to add something?
Well, first I want to say thanks for bringing that to the council and community's attention. We've talked about it a couple times at the budget. I think it's important. Both Halstead and I are directly involved with it. This summer is going to be an important time as they gather information, and as appropriate, we'll find times to make sure that we're in front of all of you. Just understand this as it does really get to that point of decision making. And a big part is the funding, services, and then as I think your last point was really about the governance and how is this, how do you really govern a system like this? So thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think there's some really important conversations that are having, especially our libraries at the fringes, and understanding, for instance, the library in Beaverton, kind of off of Shills Ferry, actually services a lot of Washington County unincorporated area, and yet they're using their general fund to keep the library open, and the appropriateness of that too, and trying to figure out these really hard conversations. And the Tigard Library and our patrons, what do our patrons look like? What is that demographic? What are we paying for? What is the county paying for as far as who is visiting? And also understanding individuals from other counties can come as well. So if it's a library on a border, Clackamas County individuals can come too. We certainly do not want to restrict individuals' access to the library, but I think it's an important conversation of figuring out what does that look like, what does that mean, and what are the dollars that are going to be required. So yeah, Councilor Shaw, do you have a question?
No, but this conversation reminded me I failed to give an update on, as a liaison for former Councilor Singh, I'm now on the library board.
Oh,
Forgot
would
to
you
give
like
my liaison, and I'm watching Halstead going, I will give it.
Yeah, would you like to go ahead and
So,
give that now?
Yes, and thank you, Mayor, for that topic too, because that's incredibly important. But they evaluated the onboarding policies and procedures. They updated the volunteer management software, so now it works with calendaring. So those of you who've been volunteering in the city get an announcement, which is great, so it can go right on to your calendar, so that's really exciting. They had a review and approved the interlibrary loan policy. So there's new change there. They also talked about supporting Pride Month and Juneteenth, and they have a reading nook for Juneteenth for Black History and Excellence. And then lastly, there's a lot more because they're an incredible board and have so much to do, but they now have a new confidential executive secretary, an assistant who has started, and his name is Joseph Bailey. So I just wanted to say welcome to Joseph, and thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Also at Washington County Coordinating Committee, and also Region 1 Act, and I think I've seen this presentation like 6 times now, is the summer ODOT construction updates, which there's a lot of construction going on. I think it's important to remind Oregonians that you can't really do construction, road construction, when it's raining in the winter. And so sort of in the summer and the better weather, our roads become alive with those cones. So a couple of reminders, please slow down for the employees who are working in those zones. They are human beings trying to do their jobs and deserve to go home to their families safe. So I know it's a struggle. I mean, with a whole bunch of stuff going on today, a drive, I drive to Vancouver for my day job, and today's traffic was like an hour and 20 minutes versus the 30 minutes that it normally is because of a whole bunch of stuff going on. And so we were all stuck in it together. So please bring your patience with those things, and knowing that we have a lot going on in Tigard. It's really, really hard to see, and it's easy to get frustrated when you're trying to go places, especially with the Hall Bridge over 217 still being closed. And I know a lot of construction and road projects going on in the Metzger area. Again, this happens, and it's also something important to know. It's important for us to get it done because of the costs that are just escalating, and if we were to continue to stagger it, it would actually cost the city significantly more money than to get these projects started and done this summer. And so they're really investments in our community and investments in the safety and the ability for everybody to get around. So please be patient, and yeah, just a friendly reminder that a lot of that is going on. Also good news with the MISTIP, the Major Streets Transportation Improvement Program on the county passed the county, and that includes our Greenberg project. Now, I don't guarantee where it is on the list. We are still continuing to figure out their prioritization. So it could be one of the ones earlier, or it could be many years down the road. But the good news is that it is on the list. and it is a project that they are dedicated to seeing through. So really important for Greenberg Road, especially around Washington Square and some of our lower income subsidized apartments around there, and individuals who cannot cross the street to get to public transportation without risking their lives. So some really important updates and investments going on there. Are there any additional questions? No? All right. So we will move on to the public hearing to adopt 2025 fees and charges schedule. I will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to testify by phone, video, or in person, please get in the queue now or sign up at the back of the room. The phone number is 503-966-4101. And we have Finance Director Kang to present the staff report. Oh. And Assistant Finance Director McClung. It's not in my notes. That's okay. Thank you. Welcome. It's a big day here.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Finance Director Eric Kang. Tonight we have a series of actions I'll be covering the fees and charges. In addition to that, later on we'll be covering the state revenue sharing and finally adoption of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for the City and Town Center Development Agency. And joining me tonight is Assistant Finance Director Keith McClung, who will be available for any questions when we get to the fees and charges schedule, specifically covering the solid waste rates. So my notes are going to be covering kind of all the actions as a whole, so please be patient with me. First of all, I want to thank all the contributors to the budget. This was truly a collaborative process. It includes countless hours from many individuals, and I want to thank the Budget Committee, including this body, for their engagement and questions to ensure that the proposed budget meets the needs of the community and deliver on Council's goals. I want to thank the city's leadership team for the contributions and for the thoughtfulness in the budget requests and the commitment to prudent fiscal stewardship. I want to thank also the all the different budget users that supported the budget development, including the business managers and many other individuals representing the departments, including the design and communication team for developing such a polished budget book. And then finally, I want to thank my team. It takes several members of my team and countless hours, and many people may not know it's actually more like a 9-month process to develop the budget. And I'm very proud of the work that my team has done in delivering such a high-quality budget. Next, I want to acknowledge the number of hours spent on this process and the public engagement that took place. And for those that are watching, we had our first presentation of the proposed budget on April 27th. And that consisted of a 7 hours, public meeting with the Budget Committee. This meeting included a public hearing, a presentation of the proposed budget, and a Q&A. And again, on April 30th and May 1st, we held a more of a casual public engagement opportunity or open house style forum that we've coined as Coffee Meets Budget. This space was created for members of the community to meet the budget team to ask any questions or provide any comments on the proposed budget. And we learned a lot from this process, and we have some ideas that we'd like to incorporate next year to expand our reach. On May 14th, we had our second Public Budget Committee meeting to hold a public hearing to present the Town Center Development Agency budget. And also, this was when we had our first look at the fees and charges schedule and follow up on questions from the discussion of the first Budget Committee meeting. On May 20th, we held a final Budget Committee meeting to hold a public hearing, present technical adjustments, and receive approval from the Budget Committee on state revenue sharing, the property tax rate, and approval of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2024 and 2025 for both the City and the Town Center Development Agency. And so today we'll be going through a series of action items with recommendations from staff that is the final part of this process. And so for members of the public that are hearing about the budget for the first time, it may seem like we are going through some of these actions very quickly, but I do want to acknowledge that this was a comprehensive process with a series of public engagement and discussions on the budget, including the fees and charges schedule that's the action presented to you right now. So with that, I'll move to our first item, which is the proposed fees and charges schedule for fiscal year 2024-2025. In your attachment, the first page is a crosswalk and a summary of all the changes that are incorporated in the schedule. There are two changes since the fees and charges were first presented to the Budget Committee. The first is a change to the Transportation Development Tax page. The rates itself were not changed, however, to avoid misinterpretation, as these rates are set by Washington County, the section was edited to refer back to Washington County Countywide Transportation Development Tax Manual. The second change is the update to the solid waste rates, where staff briefed council on the results of the solid waste rate studies on June 11th and received guidance. And based on the recommendations from the rate study and the guidance from council, the proposed changes include an average increase of 7.4% with an effective date of August 1st, 2024. And with that, staff is recommending approval of the resolution adopting the fees and charges schedule. And Keith and myself are happy to answer any questions, and our consultant Chris Bell, who conducted the rate study, as well as representatives from the waste haulers, are available to answer any questions.
Thank you. We did not receive any written comments by noon. Mr. Thornburg, are there any callers in the queue or anyone wishing to testify by video?
None at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. Our Deputy City Recorder is rushing to the back of the room to see if anyone has signed up for the hearing. Okay, we have no in-person comments. So we will turn it to City Council. If you have any questions, please remember that the public hearing is open, so the questions should be on the budget only and no comments. Yeah, Council President Hu.
Thank you, Mayor. So the solid waste array we receive, so for 2 medical waste collection for disposal of the 17-gallon and 23-gallon, the prices actually went down. I just want to confirm that's the case.
Yes, that is the,
All right.
yes, that is the case.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Seeing no additional comments, I will close the public hearing. And now there is council consideration of Resolution 24-14. I do want to acknowledge and thank you for everything that you've done to provide us with this budget. I want to acknowledge the budget committee members that we have in the audience here tonight with us. Thank you for your time and all of the robust conversations that we had over this budget. It does look like to anyone who is watching that we may be rushing through this, but this was many hours and many months of intense scrutiny on this budget. So with that, I will open it up if there are any comments or any additional questions or any motions on the resolution. Council President Hu.
Thank you, Mayor. And I also echo the thanks, and I really want to thank you for the one-pager explaining the rate increase of the solid waste, and hopefully our waste collectors partners will get to use some of this or all of it when they communicate the rate increase to residents. Because last time when I get a rate increase, they just say the city of Tiger approved a rate increase. I was like, no, this is all so much more. So hopefully they will get to adopt some of this. And another comment is that I noticed one of the fee on information processing and architecture fee went double because it hasn't been increased since almost 15 years. So I think based on previous comment from some of the council member, we would rather like to see incremental changes rather than, surprise change. And I know that this is something increases per departmental policy, so it's not something beyond our control. I have no problem with the increase, but I just want to request that in the future maybe we can avoid double anything if we can, and consider more of an incremental change over time. So that's all I have. So thank you so much.
Okay. I move to approve resolution number 24-14.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the Deputy City Recorder please read the number and title of the ordinance?
Resolution number 24-14, a resolution amending the citywide fees and charges schedule, which was adopted under resolution number 23-13 and subsequent amendments.
Thank you. All of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, resolution 24-14 is adopted by unanimous vote of the council. I will now open the public hearing on certifying that the City of Tigard provides services qualifying for state shared revenues. Anyone wishing to testify by phone or video, please call in now at 503-966-4101 or log in to get into the queue to comment by video, or sign up at the back of the room for in-person public comment. Mr. Kang.
Thank you, Mayor. So the next action item, this is a certification that the City of Tigard provides 6 of the 7 required services outlined in ORS 221.760, subsection 1, in order to be eligible to receive state revenue sharing. And the 6 of the 7 services that the city provides are police protection, street construction, maintenance and lighting, sanitary sewers, storm sewers, planning, zoning, and subdivision control, and water utility. And staff is recommending that council approve the resolution certifying that the city provides these services required to receive state revenue sharing. And I'm happy to answer any questions on this action.
Thank you so much. Mr. Thornburg, are there any callers in the queue or anyone signed up by video?
None at this time.
Thank you. Deputy City Recorder Raymundo, has anyone signed up in person? All right, thank you so much. Just a reminder, we are in the public hearing, so if any counselors have questions, please direct it to this specific item. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and now we have council consideration of resolution number 24-15. Any questions or comments or a motion?
Now, Mayor, I'd like to move to approve resolution number 24-15.
I second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the Deputy City Recorder please read the number and title of the ordinance?
Resolution number 24-15, a resolution certifying that the City of Tigard provides services qualifying for state shared revenues.
Thank you. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, resolution 24-15 is adopted by unanimous vote of the council. I will open the public hearing to declare the city's election to receive state revenue sharing. Is that what I just did? Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I'm like, it's listed on twice, so it's right? Or do we need to move on to, is it adopting the budget next?
No, it's the
Okay, got it. All right, we declared that we did all the stuff. Mr. Kang.
Thank you, Mayor. So the next item that's connected to the last action is the action to elect to accept state revenue sharing as outlined in ORS 221.770. And in order to receive state revenue sharing, in addition to providing the services outlined in the last action, the city must hold a public hearing and must have levied property taxes in the preceding year. Having met all the requirements, staff is recommending for council to approve the resolution electing to receive state revenues as outlined in ORS 221.770.
Thank you. If anyone wishes to testify by phone or video, please do so now to get in the queue. The phone number is 503-966-4101. Deputy City Recorder Raymundo, has anyone signed up in person?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Thornburg, is anyone called in for phone comment or video?
None at this time.
All right, thank you so much. City Council, do you have any questions regarding this public hearing? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and now it's council consideration of resolution number 24-16.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 24-16.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the Deputy City Recorder please read the number and title of the ordinance?
Resolution number 24-16, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenue sharing.
Thank you. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 24-16 is adopted by unanimous vote of the council. And I will open the public hearing on adopting the budget, making appropriations, declaring the ad valorem tax levy, and classifying the levy as provided. If you would like to testify by phone, please call in now to get in the queue. The phone number is 503-966-4101. You may also testify by video or sign up at the back of the room. Mr. Kang.
Thank you again, Mayor. So the next item is the biggest item of the budget actions, and we do have a PowerPoint slide for this one. And so this is the adoption of the fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget for the City of Tigard. As I mentioned previously, the annual budget has been a multi-step process, and this is the culmination of many discussions. If you can move on to the next slide, please. One more. One more. Okay. So tonight, staff is recommending approval of total appropriations of $241,329,023 as exhibited on Exhibit A, with a total FTE of 359.8. We are bringing forward one change that will result in a net decrease to appropriations by $36,814. Next slide, please. One more. So we are bringing forward one change, and the change is a transfer from one division to another within the Public Works Department. This results in a change in cost allocations as Public Works Engineering and Public Works Admin have different allocation methodologies. But the net impact is a cost savings of $18,407. As I mentioned, an appropriation change of $36,814 was mentioned earlier. And the reason why that's higher than the net savings I just mentioned is because it impacts both interfund transfers, and so there's a revenue and an expense that has to be netted out to zero that get grossed up in the appropriations. But the bottom line is the net cost savings is the $18,407. Next slide, please. So this chart is a depiction of the impacts to the appropriations. You'll also see it in your Exhibit A. It's a total change of $36,814 in appropriations. And again, that's because of the grossing of that $18,407. Next slide, please. So staff is recommending to council to approve the resolution approving total appropriations of $241,329,023 as presented in Exhibit A, and an ad valorem tax rate of $2.5131 per 1,000 of assessed value for the permanent rate, plus an additional 29 cents per 1,000 for the local option levy, and in the amount of $2,903,000 for debt service on general obligation bonds. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We didn't receive any written comments by noon. Mr. Thornburg, are there any callers in the queue?
None at this time.
Thank you. We do have someone signed up to speak in person. And Jake Schlack, come on up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I just wanted to, well, for anyone who doesn't know who I am, my name is Jake Schlack. I'm chair of the Tigard Budget Committee. I was at that 7-hour meeting and survived to tell the tale. So I wanted to take a few minutes just before the adoption of the budget, if you all decide to adopt the budget, of course, to express my gratitude towards the Tigard teammates who put the budget together. I think of Budget Officer Steve Reimer, Eric Kang, Lena Plath, Lindsay Bartholomew, and so many others who were present to shepherd the budget through the committee process, make sure that the council and the community budget committee members had the information they needed to feel comfortable with proceeding with the budget. I think they did an excellent job this year. I wanted to express my gratitude. I also wanted to express my gratitude to the council and, of course, our community budget committee members, one of which is back with me in the gallery, Aaron McCool, as well as Kelly Pement, Clarissa Benfield, and Leah Voigt. I think it's really important to have community voices heard during the budget process, of course, as many people have said, in order to scrutinize the budget, research it, make sure it aligns with the values and the needs of the community. And in general, I'd like to urge the council to adopt the budget with technical adjustment. I think it's a sensible and responsible next step in the city's future. Some of my favorite parts of the budget this year are, of course, the introduction of the zero-based budgeting philosophy, enhancement to the city's bilingual incentive program, so that way language is not a barrier for residents who are needing to interact with the city government, continued investments in climate actions, and of course, continued investment in the Tigard-Tyler project. It wouldn't be a budget meeting if Tyler was not mentioned once, so that is my contribution here. And as we go into fiscal year 2025, I urge the council to pay special attention to library revenues. That was a topic of concern that was brought up this year. The library provides a lot of vital services and is a critical community center for many residents in Tigard and around Tigard. So I urge the council to just pay special attention to that to make sure its services are fully funded. And with that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Do you have any response to that testimony that you'd like to add?
No response from me, Mayor.
I would just want to check. Council, are there any questions in regards to the budget or technical adjustments? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and now council consideration of resolution number 24-17, which is the big budget.
Mayor, I would like to move to approve resolution number 24-17.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Oh, yeah.
Just
Councilor
2
Wolf?
seconds, because I haven't said anything. Eric, truly, thank you. Just a tremendous process and very thorough, and just appreciate everybody's input, conversation, et cetera. So just thank you.
Council President Hu?
I also want to echo Councillor Wolf's sentiment, say thank you so much. And I think I made a comment during the budget committees that this process this year just feels so much easier. And I wonder, is it because I'm more experienced, or is it because the budget documents were better? And I think City Manager Rammer say maybe both. So, so thank you. I really thank you for your hard work on this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Councilor Shaw?
I can echo. It was fantastic. But between Chair Schlack and the teammates, that book was so easy to read. And actually, I looked forward to getting the full notebook and turning page by page. And I did that one weekend, and my husband's like, I can't believe you're reading the whole thing. But it was just clear, concise. And so just thank you all very much. And I have to say, he actually read part of it too.
Surprise, surprise, thank you. But I just want to say thank you for making me feel so welcome, and it was really, really interesting to just sit in and listen, and yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Will the city recorder please read the number and title of the ordinance?
Resolution number 24-17, a resolution of the City of Tigard adopting the approved budget with adjustments, making appropriations, declaring the ad valorem tax levy, and classifying the levy as provided by ORS 310.0602 for fiscal year 2025.
Thank you. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, resolution 24-17 is adopted by unanimous vote of the council. Congratulations, Mr. Kang, on your first city budget as finance director. I will now convene the Town Center Development Agency. And I will open the public hearing for the TCDA on adoption of the TCDA fiscal year 2025 budget with adjustments, making appropriations, and imposing and categorizing taxes. Anyone who wants to testify by phone or video, please do so now to get in the queue. The phone number is 503-966-4101, or please sign up at the back of the room. Mr. King.
All right, so this is the final item I am presenting tonight. And so this is the adoption of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for the Town Center Development Agency. As I mentioned earlier, the Budget Committee was presented with the budget on May 14th for the Town Center Development Agency and was approved on May 20th, and no additional changes are proposed. So staff is recommending the board approve the resolution for this action, approving total appropriations of $12,383,045 as presented in Exhibit A. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Thornburg, are there any callers in the queue or anyone wishing to testify by video?
None at this time.
Thank you. Deputy City Recorder Raimundo, has anyone signed up in person?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Okay, seeing none. Are there any questions from the directors? Thank you. Thank you. All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And now there is board consideration of TCDA Resolution 24-01.
Director, I'd like to move to approve TCDA Resolution number 24-01.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the Deputy City Recorder please read the number and title of the resolution?
TCDA Resolution number 24-01, a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes.
Thank you. All of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the TCDA Resolution 24-01 is adopted by unanimous vote of the council, or the board. Well, I was very close. And now I will reconvene the city council meeting. Thank you, Mr. Kang.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the 2025 Legislative Roadmap Workshop with Assistant to the City Manager, Nicole Hendricks, here to present the teammate report. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to see you. My name is Nicole Hendricks, the Assistant to the City Manager for the City of Tigard. The item before you is a follow-up to your April 6th special council meeting where you expressed interest in improved legislative agenda development process. Next slide, please. So what we're looking for is your thoughts and feedback on the proposed legislative agenda calendar, an internal legislative process and approach, and also to share some steps or priorities that our team should explore for the 2025 legislative agenda. Next slide, please. So at your April 6th meeting, you identified some specific goals, which were to start the legislative agenda development process earlier than we have in the past. It was also to have more collaboration between our team and council and our government affairs consultant, CFM, in the agenda development, and then to be proactive and organized in legislative efforts as a council. And so, as I mentioned, this work session will allow us to talk through some of the tools that will help get us to those goals. So that includes the calendar, the documented process, and an opportunity for you all to share some of those concepts that you're interested in exploring further. Next slide, please. So starting with the calendar, the more comprehensive version of this calendar is in your council packet as attachment A. This version highlights the key council coordination pieces alongside our legislative deadlines for the state, which are helping just us to be aware as we develop concepts and coordinate with our state representatives. In years past, our legislative agenda development typically began in late October or early November and really ramping up post-election. And that was as an internal process that included city leadership, our government affairs advocates, and then subject matter experts. And this process led up to a proposed legislative priorities or an agenda to council, usually in December or even January. So you can see in this proposed timeline that instead of starting in November, we'd be finalizing an agenda hopefully in November, which addresses our desire to start a process earlier. Starting with our conversation today as an initial workshop, and then we'll have a second conversation/workshop in September to refine, and then in between checking in with our mayor and leadership to guide that direction. And we also have, after our second workshop, to schedule some check-ins with each of the counselors just to make sure that we're on the right track, and that we feel comfortable with what we end up presenting before council in November. In the attachment, you'll see additional coordination and specific tasks that we complete with CFM. We have bi-weekly coordination calls, and this just helps us ensure we're staying up to date and understand the priorities of our representatives and how our community needs to be, how it can be championed in this process. So our proposed calendar incorporates more check-ins and workshops than we've done previously, so that should respond to some of the interest in more collaboration throughout the process. Next slide, please. Speaking of process, so this is attachment B in your packet, is an internal document to help us establish roles and responsibilities in navigating the legislative process. So everything happens really fast during the session, so it's important for us to know who is doing what, what's happening, who's doing what, and so that we're more coordinated. So the mayor and council sets the policy direction and priorities through the legislative agendas, and then our city team works through within that direction. And we also use the city's values, our 5 E's, and our strategic vision to identify legislation that we may want to provide testimony on. Our leadership team works with the department teams and subject matter experts as well to identify those specific opportunities. And then the city manager's office helps coordinate between our government affairs consultant, our council, and subject matter experts. So that's a little bit of an overview, and there's more detail in that packet of the roles and responsibilities. And then when it comes to testimony development, as I mentioned earlier, our team's guided by adopted agendas, our city values and vision to propose stances on specific legislation or bills. And for the sake of time, I won't read through each step that we laid out in that document, but we do lay out the order of operations in developing and submitting testimony to help ensure we're all on the same page on who's doing what. And one piece I did want to point out, I think we heard it at the April 6th council, of the question around signing authority for testimony. And so the process proposes that the mayor will sign, and if she is unavailable, then the council president will fill those responsibilities. And then if both are unavailable, then the city manager's office will reach out to the counselor who has the most kind of subject matter interest or expertise. So if you serve on a committee that might be related to that topic, we'll reach out to you to fill in. So we'll be looking for your feedback on that process if you feel comfortable with that or you want to see something a little different. And then last but not least is closing the loop. So just making sure that the mayor and the city manager are included in our communications, and then submitting testimony, making sure that's available to all of council to help everyone stay in the loop. So sending that out through the council newsletter or council mail. Next slide, please. This last piece is just time to hear from you about potential concepts or priorities you'd like to see in our 2025 agendas. And I included in your council packet our 2024 agendas, just to easy reference. And then I did note that we've talked about zip codes before, so that's on the radar for 2025. And then also transportation priorities. So we have a lot of transportation priorities, and so such as we have Hall, we have 72nd, and so if we list or identify those, then also just prioritizing where we want to spend that energy. And then potential considerations. So what are our state legislators' goals for the upcoming season, which is something our CFM team will have a pulse on as well and can help us learn about that as we get closer to the session. And then focusing on a few key areas will help our team be more robust and proactive and coordinated versus trying to do it all at once. So next slide, please. So we'd love to get your thoughts on and edits on any of the items we covered, and if it's easier to start with one or just the calendar first, maybe we can start that way and end with the concepts. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. I think starting with the calendar is great. We can we go back a couple of slides to the calendar, just so that's up if anybody has any questions or comments on it. Does anyone have any thoughts? I'll just say, I think this is a really great idea, and it's a great first step, and I think for this year, this is awesome. For next year, or future years, I think it's really important when they start to go into legislative days in September and really start to formulate their plans, we should already have our agenda locked in. And so I would actually prefer by June or July that our agendas are wrapped up and in place. In the future. This year is great, but in the future, I think that's how we can be most effective, especially if we're connected and we know a transportation package is coming, so we can prioritize those sorts of things. But I think this is a great first step, and consolidating it, I think a little bit more for next year would be great.
Got it. Thanks.
No, but this is a great improvement.
Cool.
Yeah. Councilor Shaw?
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to echo, I think this is fantastic, having the month by month and also more of a coordinated strategy. And I also applaud you for reaching out to our elected officials who represent and finding out what's on their agendas for the next session as well, and seeing if those can be integrated. So thank you.
Any additional comments or feedback on the calendar? Okay. So the next is the internal process. Can we go to the next slide, please? Is there any feedback on the 3-page document in there? I think my only request is that under submitting testimony, if a counselor wants to do something, to also copy in the mayor, because I think I am robustly involved and I think sort of the politics side of it, and may have some information on a subject that the city manager may not. So just in honor of no surprises, just for the mayor to also be copied in. That's my only request. Otherwise, I think this is really helpful and very clear. Yeah, Council President Hu?
And also, for testimony submission or development, I guess mostly the mayor will sign it, but it would be nice just, when you pass around the testimony, you will sort of explain how the bill or the testimony align with our value or agenda, just a little bit, blurb, so we have a hook to hang on. Because I remember last year when the mayor was traveling, I was asked to sign on to a testimony about book banning, and I just can't put I can think of why, but I just wanted to see in writing, so there's a hook that we can hook on, so that's why we support it. So something like that.
Advice. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? No? Seeing none? Okay, we will move on to the 2025 initial comments. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Yeah, so I'll get started. I think, yes, 2025, as far as the zip code and transportation, zip code definitely on the federal, or the federal level, and we know transportation, I think, is really geared towards the state level and understanding. A couple of things also, I know for what used to be called earmarks, Tigard wasn't awarded any this year, and I'd like for us to perhaps, I know that we already have started taking a look at who was awarded, but potentially also because the earmarks or the CDS dollars can be used for building planning, and knowing that we have a very large building coming up, and knowing that we also have Universal Plaza, perhaps trying to figure out ways that we can go after that funding for our new public works and police facility planning, I think is a really, we would have a strong, one of our fellow communities was awarded dollars for that planning. Also, as far as just, I know housing and homelessness were really talked about in this last session, but the work isn't done, and that's a conversation that I continue to have with legislators, is that there could continue to be tweaks or changes or things like that. So just to make sure that just because the legislature has passed these bills does not mean that we have solved houselessness, and we still have are struggling with not having enough resources for mental health and places for individuals to go. So I think just continuing to have that on our agenda as an item or a topic that we're looking for support would be great. Those are the things on my mind. And any federal dollars we can go after with some of the big packages that have been passed, I think would be helpful. Yeah, Councillor Shaw?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Echo exactly what you said. At the federal level with the 26th Transportation Authorization Bill coming, and then also ensuring that we can keep the IRA, NEVI bill, that those amount of dollars coming back to the states. That would be terrific, in particular to Oregon and to Tigard. And as the mayor mentioned, the congressionally directed spending dollars, I think will be key. And then, of course, the state, we've got the state transportation package potentially coming in 25, though sounds like a little bit maybe delayed till maybe 27. But I think to the mayor's point earlier, having exactly what we're interested in early and them knowing what our priorities are going to be terrific. So those are the two big things we've got for this coming year and next.
Yeah, Council President who?
Thank you, Mayor. This is also for the long run. I'm just thinking about, we asked our vacancy applicant to talk about Measure 550. So in the long term, we should think about, I know, I see your face. I know that's a tough hill to climb. I understand. But this year, nobody expected the campaign finance reform will pass, right? And it passed. So that was a surprise. So you never know. So I was more thinking maybe we can start talking with school districts, fire districts, other cities, because we all face the same problem.
Yeah.
So, I think if we talk loud enough together, hopefully we can make some headwaves. I don't know, but yeah, I know. I understand it's a tough thing, and we just don't know if there's ever a political will to do something about it. But it doesn't mean we can't try, right? Mm-hmm. So, but that's a long, hopefully not too long, but so not this year. So thank you.
So I will tell you, it's not as far off as you think. I have robust conversation with legislators behind closed doors, the League of Oregon Cities, both on the General Policy Committee and on the Finance and Taxation Committee. There is a real statewide appetite for this. But what we are lacking is a legislative champion who's willing to really make this their sole issue. And there's also really an interest for cities, both urban and rural, to get together and say this is a problem for everybody. Because right now, I think there are a lot of cities in the Portland area, the metro area, the larger cities, saying this is a really huge problem, and finding partnership with the rural cities to make this less of a political and more of a wide. So yes, whether we put it on the legislative agenda or not, know that this is a conversation that I have literally every time I open my mouth and talk about dollars. And legislators are hearing us. And other mayors too. We're like a broken record now. Any additional questions or comments? I mean, I think always interested in climate and understanding how we can take advantage of those, any dollars or any funding programs as we continue to work on our climate action plan, because would be great, especially electrification.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Did we give you enough?
You gave
me
more.
Oh
yeah, no, thank you, I appreciate it.
You never know what you're gonna get when you come up here. All right, thank you. And the next item on our agenda is to discuss applications for the city council vacancy. So we have 8 applications that we received. Well, we received 9, and we deemed one individual not eligible based on their residency. And so we have asked the city council to review their the applications and come back with 2 to 3 to 4 individuals, with hopes that 3 or 4 individuals will come back next week for an interview. There will be 10 questions. 5 of them will be posted publicly for the individuals undergoing the interview, and then 5 are going to be on the spot pop quiz questions. Because I think there is, council discussed that there is an element of preparation for some questions and being on the spot for some questions. So is there anyone who would like to sort of get us started on their individuals? Yeah, Councilor Wolf, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. First I just would like to take about 30 seconds or so just to first say thank you. Was just thrilled with the applicants, the pool that we had, and just the outstanding individuals in our community that expressed an interest to be part of this process, part of the team that serves as counselors for Tigard. So I, regardless of how we end next week, I really want to encourage the applicants for the appointment process to continue that process as an elected council candidate. So I wanted to take a second to talk about how I assessed the candidates. It really resonated with me when Mayor Lube talked about the opportunity of being an appointed councilor member, because it is not lost on me that an individual will be appointed and then could really, within a day, turn around and apply to be elected as a candidate with having served less than 24 hours as a counselor. So this is a tremendous opportunity for someone, and what Mayor Lube had shared was the idea of, is this an opportunity for individuals that would not have considered maybe going through that election process, because it is a daunting process. I know that, and I'm doing it again in 2 years, after 2 years. And so it's a heavy lift. And so I appreciated that. And so who were those candidates that were unexpected to me? The second piece that I really thought about is I did think about Councilor Singh. And I thought about the voters who elected him, what he brought to council, whether that was racial, ethnic diversity, a passion around climate and equity. And I also considered the different skills or representations of our candidates and what they could bring to council that maybe is not currently represented, whether that is the location in the city, whether it's a renter or an owner, and whether they are truly actively engaged in the city. I appreciate that most folks provided professional references, really tried to reach out and ask some questions about community engagement, because that's a big part of being a counselor as well. So I did that to learn a little bit more about candidates who maybe I didn't know as much about. And then finally, who really understood the questions, looked at the context and shared their understanding, and then could really apply it locally. What does that mean for Tigard? And so with that, with all that thought process, do you want me to just give you my 4? Yeah. Okay. And I want to apologize up front if I mispronounce someone's name. So my 4 that I have listed are Faraz Gadusi, Sean Martinez, Neha Nilwarn, and Jake Schlack.
Thank you. You could do anywhere from 2 to 4. Yeah, I think we're interested in bringing 3 to 4 individuals back. So as long as collectively we can agree on 3 to 4, we can get there. No, I ended up picking 4 too. It's fine. Any individual? Yeah, Youth Councilor Vogel.
Yeah, I think this was definitely really hard. I mean, echoing what Councilor Wolf said, all of them to me were outstanding, so picking from there was definitely very hard. I am someone that kind of looks for organizations. That was really helpful in applicants, just looking at how they organized the questions, how they, the professionalism that just came with that, as well as just city involvement as well. I think that kind of stood out to me. It's definitely coming into a position, you know, unexpectedly. I think it's something that comes, there's going to be a lot, oh my gosh, a lot to like how do I put this? Like, there's going to be a lot to catch up on. And so I think that's something that I looked at is like, how much involvement do they have in the city? How could that benefit them coming into this position? So with that, I'll just kind of go down the line. Jake Schlack, Faraz Gadisi, I picked 4, that's great. Barrett Johnson and Shar Banerjee. I'm really sorry if I butchered that.
And so that was Shar, Faraz, Barrett, and Jake. Okay, thank you so much. Council President Hu or Council President Hu?
Sure, I go. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Wolf and Youth Councilor. Yeah, for me, when I first took a look at the applicant, it was overwhelming because they are all great, and some have great strength in one area and the other. So in order to help me organize my thought, I created a list of 10 criteria, and each criteria assigned 10 points. I know it's very, and just to be transparent, I would leave my criteria and the score I give to each person with our deputy recorder, so anybody can request that if they want to see how I score them. As I said, some of them are strong in certain area and some of them are strong in other area, but overall, according to my score, the top 4 I picked are Jake Slack, Faraz Godasi, Sean Martinez, and Barrett Johnson.
Thank you. And I appreciated seeing your robust scoring guide.
Yeah.
Councilor Shaw.
Thank you. Mine was not as robust. I did a 5-system scoring criteria that I had developed that helped me just guide me. And I too want just to thank the applications and those who had the courage to apply. It's a tremendous experience. And also echoing Councilor Wolf, just also with our former Councilor Singh and what he brought and the diversity he brought and the representation he brought, I really appreciated looking through the candidates just to see if there was some similar, and that include everything from location within the city to renters to owners to also those who are actively engaged, and then those who thoughtfully answered those questions both at the state level and then really drilled down on how it could manifest itself in our city of Tigard. So again, just very thankful. And my top candidates were Faraz, Jake, Neha, and Barrett.
Thank you. I did very similar to all of you as far as looking at these individuals, seeing what they brought, seeing the thought and care that they took in answering the questions. And I certainly don't expect anybody to be an expert, but I think one of the biggest challenges of being on the council is not being an expert in an area, but having to analyze and understand it in order to make an educated decision. And what does that look like on some really technical stuff or some big picture stuff, which are some of the questions that we will continue with next week. But it was wonderful to read all of them. I always get excited about the ideas and the way that other individuals see our community or want to make changes. And so thank you to everybody who filled out the application and applied. I think that's a testament to, 8 individuals being excited and wanting to serve, and that's pretty awesome. So thank you for that. My 4 were Neha, Barrett, I'm also marking off as I go, so Jake and Faraz. So just give me a second to tabulate. So Jake and Faraz were chosen by everybody. Barrett had 4 individuals, and Neha had 3. So I guess the interest is, do we want to bring 3 or 4 individuals to the interview process? I think we were pretty robustly on the same page. 4? I think, yeah, let's expand the pot and do 4.
To 4. So, Mayor, can I just have a clarification? So, and because I didn't track them, so Sean received how many?
Sean received 2.
2, okay.
So can you recap the final four again?
Yes.
Okay.
So I will say Shar received 1 vote, Faraz received 5, Peter did not receive any, Barrett received 4, Sean received 2, Neha received 3, Jake received 5, and Gabriel received 0. So we had 2 individuals with 5, which were Faraz and Jake, Barrett with 4, and Neha with 3. Yep. And this will be turned into the city recorder for the very formal tabulation. I was gonna actually do a spreadsheet and I forgot about it, so back in the napkin. It's exciting. I think they all bring something different to the table. City manager, for these 4 individuals, would it be possible to have their references checked and have just sort of a background given based on the information provided and provided to City Council perhaps Monday of next week so we could read through it before the interviews on Tuesday? Would that be possible? Yeah.
So, Mayor, I really appreciate that, and I apologize. I have a feeling that I did that without my mic on, so I apologize. But on the references, I do think most gave professional references, so I would really like to, for those 4, to submit a city or community related. What is your engagement activity, and who can speak to that? Because as opposed to just a professional. Not that those aren't important, but I'd like to hear from somebody.
Community references.
Community
Okay.
reference, thank you, yes.
Are we able to perhaps get those pretty quickly?
So for clarity, reach out. So we'll be sending something tomorrow. Congratulating them to making the next step in the process, provide the 5 questions. They'll also be in the AS, and then ask for a community involvement, a reference related to their community involvement. And is that the reference then to check?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Versus the
my
professional.
guess is these 4 should be able to do that
Yeah.
fairly rapidly.
Yeah, and that'll be helpful for us. It's Juneteenth tomorrow, so our team is off. So I'll have to make a connection on Thursday morning with a few teammates to try to get the calls made. So we'll do our best to have stuff by Monday, but maybe some patience in case we don't get to everyone. But with 3 or 4 people, I guess, depends where you're at.
Yeah. Any questions or comments? Okay. We don't have any non-agenda items this evening and no executive session. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All of those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you. Good night, Tigard.